Hello, team. Welcome back to another Line War cast. Here's your map. We have a big land map today with a little bit of water in the bottom left, but that will probably not come into play. Our two players are Swkoll in blue. We can see Swkoll is going into the top part of the map here, and Orbnet in red. These games, I'm going to cast a few of them. They're in preparation for the Q2 2022 tournament that was just recently played. You can check out the Line War Discord for all the information. Let's get started. Here we go. So two airports right away from Swkoll, one airport for Orb, two barracks, and third barracks in the mountain for Orb, and a quick barracks as well for Swkoll on the top. First player to put down a factory is Orb. We can actually see from Orb's point of view. So Orb sees that Swkoll is in the north here. Swkoll, of course, will see, likewise sees that Orb is started here. So both players know that they're actually very close to each other at this point. Orb's going for a little bit of expansion on the left side. Swkoll in general has kept all their units going forward here, except for this one back capping squad. And quick gas for Swkoll. Of course, with two airports, gas is going to be important. If you lose gas, I mean, I do this all the time when I play. Build two airports, you have a bunch of helicopters, but of course then you can't fly the helicopters because you have no gas, and it's very depressing, to say the least. I'm wondering how this is going to gear up, because there's still no factory for Swkoll, which is probably fine, because with helicopters you can really get control, and I'm interested to see if Orb's going to go for a SAM right away, and Orb does go for a SAM right away. And we can see that Orb doesn't know that there's airports here. It's actually kind of interesting in this view that there's two big patches in the forest where the airports are. I don't know if Orb saw that in game, or this is just a really good guess as to what's going to come out of these, like what Swkoll opened with. So it's going to be sort of a little bit of a race to get this SAM out before these helicopters do too much damage. It'll be alleviated because Orb has at least like a helicopter themselves, so it's not like these are just going to go totally unchecked. But this factory is a little bit in risk of dying here if it's rushed with these infantry. And Swkoll is just kind of going forward with a lot of these starting infantry squads. This factory is really close to the front lines from from Orbnet, pardon me. And we can see Orbs now realizing that this is a lot of stuff and that Swkoll's kind of just going for it. So over time, Orb's going to have a better economy likely because Orbs has more units on the left side of the map that are capping territory, but it's not going to matter if Swkoll can just immediately end this game by jumping on this production and getting there. So we can keep looking at that in the bottom. Yeah, of course we can see like in the top. Like Swkoll really only has one kind of two-ish sort of units that are capping, and the rest is just going ham here right now. These two helicopters are going to be able to get rid of these remaining infantry off of the backs of these infantry for Swkoll. That was a terrible sentence, but you saw what was happening. You know what's going on. This factory is definitely going to fall. And there's more helicopters coming in for Swkoll. And Swkoll definitely has the gas to keep going for this because of that early gas. So there's 4 helicopters in the air. If Swkoll can keep all the helicopters, which they're able to, that's really good. I'm going to be so shocked if Orb can keep this factory. And we're not even going to zoom out because this is where the whole action, and this is an enormous part of the game. But let's go here. Yeah, we'll check the money right after this engagement, and I'm just absolutely shocked that Orb was able to hold this. Orb's definitely going to lose at least the airport. I don't understand how they don't at this point. Income-wise, just under 400 for Orb. We thought that they dropped. I don't know if Swkoll took a territory, what happened, and just over 400 for Swkoll. And for Swkoll, this airport isn't actually being targeted by any of the infantry units. Now the factory is going to get targeted by the helicopters, and I think with 2 helicopters and this much damage on the factory, it will go down. We learned today on the Line War channel that buildings cost money to repair, but units do not, which I thought was interesting. I had no idea. one factory in an airport goes down for Orbnet, and Orbnet is now, I would think, in some ways behind, because on the left side of the map, it's going to be interesting to see if the economy gets to kick in for Orbnet at all quickly, because you can see with Swkoll actually doesn't have all that much land or development potential, whereas Orb has the left side of the map. So we can do an income check just over 400 for Swkoll and 440 for Orb. So Orb definitely does have that income advantage. And I think it's going to become a question of if Orb can stabilize on this little production that's left, and then just over time make more money than Swkoll. Swkoll building another factory right at the front here. I would assume this means that they want to get a little bit of aggressive. Another barracks goes down for Orb. This is, of course, great for Swkoll. Swkoll now has 2 factories, the second one about to come online. Orb has 2 factories themselves. I mean, of course, the second one about to come online. And the other production is this one barracks. So there's really not that much producing units for Orb anymore. And this was just a really good kind of quick jump on it by Swkoll. Like, Swkoll didn't really hesitate at the beginning. I think it kind of caught Orb off guard a little bit. We saw those like retreat commands back to the production, but it was a little bit not even too late. It was just a lot of stuff from Swkoll that they put into this. So 430 income for Swkoll, 488 for Orb. So we can continue to see that Orb is actually going to be able to cap more of the territory and quicker than Swkoll. Like, Swkoll really only has this one back capping group. Like, we can see the lines on the map. It is line war after all. So Orb is definitely going to over time be able to get an advantage. 2 more barracks for Orb in the back. I feel like this might be commandos, but we'll see what actually gets picked, because commandos could actually be good here. There's a lot of open space that you could kind of run the commandos around. It's definitely not, though. It's going to be infantry to even cap quicker. And maybe if Orb can get a decent amount of SAMs to kind of deal with these helicopters, it might be okay, but even then, this is a very scary swarm of helicopters that Swkoll has here. And now Swkoll's starting to kind of think about capping the rest of the map. Like, this is great. When helicopters are able to get in, get what were 5 infantry kills here, and then get out without taking any damage, or more importantly, just like losing the helicopters. That's just like so big for Swkoll here. Swkoll here. 440 for Swkoll for income, 560 for Orbnet. So Orbnet definitely ahead. Another barracks or a factory for Orb, going to start using some of that money for units, which with enough SAM already, this could get kind of scary for Swkoll, because Squall's about to feel the income deficit for like in the favor of Orb, right? Because Orb has 3 factories and 3 barracks here, which is, besides the airports, more production than Swkoll actually has in this forest. Like, 1 more factory is actually quite a bit. Like, it doesn't feel like much, but over time, that 1 extra factory does contribute a lot of units. Barracks in the back for Swkoll. This is a great play to get some more economy going, because there's actually a bunch of open field behind Swkoll. Like, Swkoll does have all this potential. There's a city in the top right. Maybe if they can get down here, there's another city, at least to deny that from Orb. But I'd say that this is still very close. These SAMs are going to come in clutch, and at some point these helicopters are going to probably try to get some damage done. It's going to become that ultimate classic dance of, do the SAMs move in the right spot? Is Orb able to get them positioned properly so that the helicopters really can't do any damage and have to stay on the ground? 3 RD pieces, or artillery pieces for Swkoll getting to the front lines. Of course, Orb now has enough artillery to kind of hold this, and as these other factories for Orb come online, it's going to get even harder for Swkoll to push. Especially with like all the production kind of centralized, these helicopters aren't really going to be able to get around these SAMs. It's not like there's really any area for them to kind of sneak attack something. fourth factory for Orb. I think that's actually a great play. Orb likely knows that they have a better economy. That felt like a very there was a strong early rush by Swkoll, but that does mean, because Orb invested on the left side of the map, that they will have a better economy. This is exactly what Swkoll needs to do with these helicopters. Is get rid of this barracks, maybe pick away at some of the infantry, and as long as the helicopters are kind of close to deal with the potential push from Orb, which I don't know how likely that is for the next few minutes, Squall's gonna be in a continue to be in a decent position. 668 income for Orb, 512 for Swkoll. So when I say Squall's in a decent position, what I mean is there's so many helicopters that they're keeping alive. There is a bunch of backcapping potential that is slowly going to come online. So as long as Swkoll can kind of hold up in this field and not just lose this forest, it's going to be huge for them. Like there's 6 helicopters that are going to do a bunch of damage here, and these SAMs are going to get taxed because they can only be in one spot at once, obviously. Welcome to reality. So if this helicopter group on the left is able to kind of, jump in, maybe kill a factory or two while the SAMs try to reposition to get this group of helicopters on the right, you could get into positions where Orb starts kind of getting pulled both ways and out of position and then loses a big fight. Question for Swkoll is going to be the second gas. I'm not actually sure where one is. I guess it is right here. Presumably this will be the second guess for Swkoll. Squall's adding another factory here, which I think is a good call. We can see their vision. Swkoll knows that there are now 4 factories for Orb. They don't see the airport yet. We can kind of see what Orb's seeing in the forest. I mean, really, Orb hasn't seen any of the production. Orb is just seeing all the units that are showing up at their front door. We can see that Orb has gone to the far left side of the map, so that's a great expansion by them. Over time, it's going to kind of be a question of who gets the top part of the map, I think. Because, yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about with these helicopters kind of bouncing on both sides of these SAMs. Like, the SAMs can't be on both sides. They're getting great damage done on these helicopters. SAMs still fire their missiles, even at ground units. But Orb's gonna lose 1 factory, probably not a second production building, but even 1. I mean, if all these helicopters get out, then that's a great play that's a great raid by Swkoll. This is kind of a scary push that Squall's gonna have to defend, because artillery rise, we can see the numbers. Orb has a lot more artillery and will have a lot more artillery. There's still 4 the 4th factory is coming online for Orb, and there's only 3 factories for Swkoll. So a 5th factory just being built for Orb. So over time, this is going to be scary. Swkoll is unfortunately out of gas, and if these SAMs can get over and kill a lot of these helicopters before they're able to lift off, that's enormous, and actually is going to very likely tip the game, like, for sure in Orb's favor. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here, because this is now becoming a very scary push. We can kind of go big picture to see what the sort of developments going on the map. This is, I mean, look at this. There's 5 helicopters that went down here or something. Of course, I mean, I can't count. You see there's a lot of helicopters. Second gas for Swkoll. It's a little bit too late to save those helicopters, and we can check the income. 668 for Swkoll and 900 for Orb. So at this point, Orb's getting their own airport with helicopters, still trading super well with these SAMs. I don't think any SAMs have gone down. I mean, as maybe that was a SAM, I don't know. But either way, Orb still maintains a very healthy SAM count. There's still 2 in the back. A lot of artillery. If Swkoll can maybe poke away at some of these artillery pieces and thin out the numbers before Orb gets close enough, it could be good. But at this point, Swkoll only has 3 helicopters, is really behind in economy. We could hear that another building went down somewhere for for Orb, yeah. So two barracks in the forest on the left, which is gonna really help Orb like hold this kind of area against all these infantry, possibly get some commandos going, at least open up like a second avenue of attack. These SAMs are doing their best job to chase these helicopters down. It's a lot of artillery pieces from Swkoll, and Swkoll actually has a very good concave on it. It's unfortunate that some of the artillery pieces are just kind of hanging out and bumping into each other, but Swkoll did have and does have a very good concave. So if there's more artillery that can show up to defend, they might be able to buy enough time to get more helicopters. Because this factory is really close. I'm not sure if this factory's going to be able to produce a unit before this blob is on top of the factory, if this line of artillery falls for Swkoll. This is the first gas for Orb. Pretty sure. And more helicopters going down for Swkoll on the right side. And I think this is over just because the economy, Squall's at 800 and Orb's at 1040. So this was, I think that was a really good first jump on the production by Swkoll at the very beginning of the game. And that was almost a death blow. It's just because Orb was able to continue like macroing, so to speak, behind this. That's Orb's gas. I don't think Orb really minds that they're out of gas right now. There's 3 helicopters waiting. The gas is almost there, but this push is going to be on top of Squall's production right now anyway. So having gas isn't like the biggest deal for Orb right now. I mean, this is such a critical mass of artillery SAM. It looks like there's 2 artillery, well, actually there's 4 artillery pieces for Swkoll, but there are more than 4 that are actually even coming up in reserve. I want to check like quickly what Swkoll's got. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential on the top of the map, but after going so hard at the beginning, it puts Swkoll in a very tough position if Orb's able to hold it and get such an eco lead. And Orb played it. I mean, Orb is very good at both these players are very good at the game. Let's be real, but you know, like I think Orb did a great job to defend that push. These are panic factories at this point, I think, because these factories are going to take too long to get up before they're useful. I lied about this factory not being able to make a unit. So it is, this factory of Swkoll's is able to make 1 unit, but this is such a good concave for Orb, and it's just really a question of the income. It's just too much production for Orb. These SAMs, so good, just totally negating the 2 airports from Swkoll at this point, and then here comes the helicopters of Orb themselves. Which these helicopters are going to go totally uncontested because Swkoll needs to make artillery to deal with all the artillery of Orb. So that means that these factories aren't making SAMs, which just, you know, is enormous for Orb. These are commandos out of these barracks. There's actually a 3rd one for Orb, which would start to test the multitask of this game. And over time, we would see the commandos would be able to get on this gas pretty easily. If they're coming this way, I mean, we could see what Orb's plans for them were. Like, it's probably just actually to kind of harass those infantry units. Another factory for Swkoll, but this front is breaking. There's too much. A little bit of skirmish. And yeah, that's probably it. GG. It really shows you how intense like line war can just be right off the bat. If you just send your first, you know, 5 squads at your opponent, you can do a lot of damage. Because we can imagine if Swkoll actually was able to break or more and get all the production, it would be very bad for them. And but that's not what happened. GG. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to both players, and thanks to Orb for posting these in the Discord. And I don't know if Orb wins all of these replays, but we'll find out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, evening, night, whatever it is for you. and enjoy. See ya.